Good afternoon. My name is Sasha Michell, and I'm the Executive Director for Gays Against Groomers. We are a nonprofit of gays, lesbians, and others, including transgender adults in the community who oppose the sexualization, indoctrination, and mutilation of children under the guise of LGBTQIA+ rights. And we are here in favor of AB 104. It is not... Okay, sorry. It is not anti-LGBT. As a lesbian, I've watched my community celebrate the diversity in women. I was told that there's no wrong way to be a girl, whether it means liking sports and having short hair or wearing heels and dresses. Now we are telling children the complete opposite. I see young girls who might have grown up to be like me, told they're not women at all, just because they don't fit into a narrow mold. We are teaching children that if they are uncomfortable in their bodies and don't like who they are, that they should change their bodies with drugs and medicine and surgeries. It is not inclusive or compassionate to rush a child into a decision they can't fully understand, and it is not care. We have members in our organization and detransitioners that we have spoken to that have received hormones and puberty blockers after a 30-minute phone call to their doctor. 30 minutes. Puberty is not some optional phase we can turn on and off like a light switch. It is a critical time when your body and brain develops. I'm sure you've heard about all the studies that recently came out which cause lawmakers to ban gender-affirming care in minors across Europe. You guys heard about it all day today. One of the studies, the CAS review, a study published just last year in the UK, found that puberty blockers have long-term effects on brain development, bone density, and fertility. These effects are not reversible. It found many of these children also had other issues like autism, depression, anxiety, trauma that were not addressed before starting the puberty blockers and hormones. This caused England to ban puberty blockers and hormones for minors. Sweden, France, Finland, Belgium, the Netherlands, Norway all conducted their own studies as well and had the same findings as the CAS review. And these countries have either banned or restricted these drugs and surgeries for minors. Here in the U.S., you guys have heard a couple of times now about Dr. Olson Kennedy, a prominent physician who we are supposed to trust. She conducted a major study where she prescribed puberty blockers to children as young as 8 years old in hopes that it would show mental health improvement. But after 2 years of following these children, her team found no mental health improvements, none. These drugs did not make kids happier or less anxious. And the most disgusting part of all of this is she refused to publish the study for her own political reasons and went on prescribing and performing surgeries like a double mastectomies to girls as young as 14. She is now being sued by many of her patients. If these drugs and hormones aren't helping children's mental health and locking them into paths of irreversible treatment like hormones and surgery, why are we doing them? Are we experimenting on vulnerable children under the guise of care? I'm not saying children shouldn't explore who they are through clothes, music, hairstyle, friendships, hobbies, etc. But exploration shouldn't mean altering your body before you've even lived in it. Let's give them time, support, love to figure out who they are without locking them into paths they can't walk back from. Also, if you guys are interested, we have a book that we created with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of references, studies, talking about all of these things as well for further information. Thank you.
It's called The Gender Trap. It's available if anybody would like it. I can also give it to you if you're interested. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Good afternoon and happy International Detransition Awareness Day. My name is Jaimee Michell. I'm a proud lesbian, a lifelong tomboy, and the founder of Gays Against Groomers, an organization comprised of individuals from inside the community fighting back against this agenda and evil. I'm here because I've seen what happens when ideology trumps reality, especially when it comes to kids. I've been a tomboy my whole life, as a child and now. Growing up, I was never into dresses. I hated the color pink. I wanted to play kickball with the boys instead of dressing up Barbies with the girls. Back then, no one told me I was born wrong or rushed me to a clinic to change my body. But had I been born a few decades later, my fate would have been much different. That's why I'm fighting to end this war on children by asking you to outlaw the sterilization and mutilation of minors, otherwise known as gender-affirming care. Let's talk facts. A brand new study from the Journal of Sexual Medicine published just last month, and which analyzed over 107,000 patients with gender dysphoria, dives into the long-term outcomes, quote unquote, gender-affirming care has had on mental health. The findings are chilling. Not only did gender-affirming care not help their mental health, but it made it worse. These medical interventions, sold falsely as reversible and safe, are not the golden ticket we're told. It's not just about side effects like bone density loss or infertility, which in and of themselves are reason enough to ban this barbaric practice. It's about the gamble we're taking with young minds that aren't fully formed. It also must be said that quote-unquote puberty blockers, like Lupron, were originally used to chemically castrate sex offenders, adult sex offenders, obviously, and now they're being used on children as young as 8 years old. Let's also remember that it was the Nazis who also sterilized children. This is not the side of history you want to be on. I'm thankful every day that I dodged that bullet growing up, but today's children are not so lucky. They do not get to grow up in a time where they're allowed to develop and explore who they are naturally without an agenda being pushed on them that leaves them sterilized and with missing body parts. I founded Gays Against Groomers because I've watched the community I love get hijacked by a radical agenda that preys on vulnerable youth. These are children, some as young as toddlers, who are being told their discomfort means they're in the wrong body. Puberty blockers, cross-sex hormones, and mutilating surgeries aren't care. They're a fast track to lifelong medical dependency. I was a confused teen once too, and thank God no one handed me a syringe or a scalpel to fix it. Before I finish, I have a question for all of you. Would you want to be stuck forever with a decision you made as a child? I don't know about you, but the thought of that terrifies me. Can you think of something you believed back then or something you were really into that you no longer are? Kids change their minds all the time and go through phases. I did. I'm sure you did too. And this is no different. Studies show that over 95% of gender-confused children outgrow it naturally if we just let them be. We protect minors from drinking, smoking, driving, getting tattoos, and even voting because we know they're not ready. Why not protect them from this as well? This is not a controversial, bigoted, or anti-LGBTQ position to hold. It is common sense and a moral obligation. Ban child sex changes.
Right.
Let kids be kids, not guinea pigs for a social experiment.
I'm going to have to cut you off there. Thank you.
The war on children ends when it
That's it.
says we
All
do.
right. Do we have questions? I know we've got Representative Wickers.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for your testimony and the work that you do.
Thank you.
Question that wasn't asked yet,
Yep.
but I think it was brought up in a previous testimony. Are you aware of who the #1 provider of puberty blockers is in Wisconsin for minors?
I'm not. I would assume Children's Hospital.
I think children's, yeah, has the most.
But I don't know for sure.
And maybe if somebody else testifies next, they might have that answer.
Okay.
Was there anything else in your personal community or experience that wasn't in your testimony that you felt was pretty powerful that you want to share before you leave the chair?
I mean, I know a lot of tomboys and a lot of, my organization has hundreds of gay men, gay women, bisexuals, and trans people in it. Most of us were gender nonconforming kids. I see this very much as an attack on gays, on gay people. I see it as, true conversion therapy. We had conversion therapy back in the 90s, which everybody knows now is wrong, going to a camp to try and pray the gay away. But to me, this is like 10,000 times worse because this conversion therapy leaves you with missing body parts and unable to have a child if you want later in life. So yeah, I see this as a very anti-gay movement. And it's very personal to me. I mean, I wear men's clothes every single day. All the things that I hated as a kid, the feminine things as a kid, I still hate. I've never wanted to be trans a day in my life. And yes, there are trans adults. This has nothing to do with adults. Just give the kids the time to grow up. Kids go through phases. This is common knowledge for all of human history up until the last 5 minutes. Locking them into something that their brains are not formed enough to fully understand what it means, or even something that they won't feel a year or two from now, or even 10 years, it's wrong. It's common sense. It doesn't take a doctor or scientist or an expert to understand that cutting up children and creating and making them sterile is a bad thing. I mean, really, You know, and I'm very grateful that we had so many experts here to testify on it. But yeah, my position is that of a gay woman who knows a whole lot of gay people and trans people, and yeah, the multitude of detransitioners as well. but-
Representative Sue.